Michael Thomas, remember he's number 8 on our Primetime Players. You think he's the best receiver in football?
I think at this moment in time, you simply have to say that. The numbers speak for themselves, and obviously there's more that goes into it. There may be people that are faster, like the Tyreek Hills of the world, people that might be considered as having better hands, like a DeAndre Hopkins. But you talk about the last 3 years. I'll bring in the last 4 and the last 2. The last 2 first. Over the last 2 years, 125 receptions, then 149 receptions. Okay, that's what is that? 274 receptions for 3,130 yards over the last 2 years. And in the last 4 years, ladies and gentlemen, Drew Brees has not completed less than 70% of his passes as the quarterback of the New Orleans Saints since Michael Thomas arrived. In the last 2 years, he's completed a minimum of 80% of his passes whenever he's targeted Michael Thomas. The brother is an elite route runner. He's got great hands. He makes things happen. You know he's the #1 option for Drew Brees, and there's simply nothing you can do about it. I think if anything else personifies who's #1 as a receiver, that does the trick. Michael Thomas, to me, right now, should be considered the best wide receiver in football.
Michael Thomas is a great wide receiver. He's underrated in the sense that he's not just running slants and stuff. He's a complete receiver. He's got great hands, great footwork, obviously, runs great routes, the whole thing. And I understand what you're saying about how the effect is both ways, him on Drew Brees, but also Drew Brees on him. You know, and he can put up the numbers. On the one hand, he's the main target, so he gets more attention. On the other hand, there's no one else taking catches away. So his numbers might be a little inflated, though I give him credit for the hands. Julio Jones is a beast. Like, this dude not only is the complete receiver, but he has athletic ability and athletic dimension that goes beyond Michael Thomas. Julio Jones is the guy you want. Like, when you think of every receiver in the game, and you want A-plus athletic ability, A-plus everything across the board, and you want the right attitude, the whole thing, who would you take over Julio Jones? You know, he puts up A-B numbers, but with none of the negative stuff, only positive stuff. And by the way, he's 6'3". Like, the dude has everything, size, speed, everything. Julio Jones is, even when I was thinking Odell's about to take over, or AB's putting up the best numbers, Julio Jones is really the guy you want on your team. More athletic than Michael Thomas or DeAndre Hopkins, bigger than a guy like Odell or AB. None of the diva problems that especially AB, but a guy like Odell can sometimes give you. He's the guy you want.
I got to go with Max, Stephen A. It's Julio, man. Listen, he had 29 less targets than Michael Thomas. And obviously, we know Michael Thomas benefits from playing in that system with Sean Payton and Drew Brees. And that's not to take anything away from Michael Thomas's greatness, what he's had the ability to do. But we know the numbers sometimes can conflate the argument. I look at Julio with 99 catches last year, over 1,300 yards, and about the same amount of touchdowns that Michael Thomas had. But when you look at Julio, it's so obvious when every receiver, if you was to line them up and walk them out there and you say, take one guy to start that position with, all of us would take Julio Jones. I know you saying Michael Thomas. I know the numbers are there and all of that. But if we just had those guys walk out based on their talent and their physical attributes and what they've actually done on the field, you would say Julio Jones still gives me the best chance to win at the wide receiver position than anybody else in the league. And I just can't get away from that. Even knowing that he had a team that struggled last year, knowing that they lost that many games. A quiet season was 1,300 yards, 99 catches, with 29 less targets than Michael Thomas.
Marcus, it would have been his 6th straight year of over 1,400 yards. He wound up with 1,394, and otherwise has been well over 1,400 yards the 5 previous seasons, including almost 1,900 yards one of those years. He is a beast.
Well, guys, I'll throw this back at you. First of all, I don't even like this argument because I know how big time Julio Jones is. Please don't get me wrong. But I have no problem disagreeing with the both of y'all. Ain't nobody scared of y'all. You can huff and puff like I tell you all the time. Swag good. You ain't blowing nobody away here.
You gotta be scared to be wrong.
Here's the reality of the situation. When you look at Julio Jones, we all know what a downfield threat he is. We understand yards per catch. We get all of that. But when we highlight Michael Thomas and Max brings up the fact that, excuse me, who else did you have to throw to? Certainly that's not the case in Atlanta when you've got Calvin Ridley, who's a stud. You used to have Mohamed Sanu there. We get all of that. But we know where Matt Ryan was going. We also know that they've had a lot of garbage time situations because their defense has been porous, primarily due to injury. So a lot of times they were out of the mix playing catch up. But when things really needed to happen, there was but so much they could do. In the case of New Orleans, who's winning games, and in the case of Drew Brees with Michael Thomas, when everybody and their grandmother knows that's where you come in. You got slants and hitches. You've got him out of the slot. You're still completing 78% of the passes to him in his career. And oh, by the way, when we talk about the beast that Julio Jones is, because he's 6'3", 220, Michael Thomas is 6'3". He's about 8 pounds lighter or something like that, but he's 62. This is no small dude.
But he's not
so
as
you
fast.
take all of those things into consideration. It's not like there's something missing. And I know y'all are not saying that, just like I'm not questioning Julio Jones either. But let's not act like it's definitively a foregone conclusion who everybody is going to pick based on what we're seeing from Michael Thomas. It cannot be ignored. And oh, by the way, you got Drew Brees in New Orleans, but Matt Ryan is no scrub.
Look, Michael Thomas is it's like the Kawhi argument I make. Some guys, the talent jumps out at you in a way, and they never really believe that Kawhi could be as good as KD or LeBron or Giannis because he had to get there. Michael Thomas's talent in terms of like his speed, stuff like that, is not going to jump out at you like Julio Jones. So it's a point well taken, Stephen A., if Julio Jones wasn't a good route runner.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.